Nail by Ian Jones and Andy Edwards. Episode 1, Phoney War. Monday, 19th of February 1940. It's been nearly 6 months since war was declared. For the people of Pontderw, very little has changed. Most of the younger men have joined up, and for those left behind, life is going on pretty much as it always has. Nail has moved into Mrs. Cooper's old house to be with Claude, and Stinky Tom has been persuaded to leave his boat and live in Nail's cottage at the top of the horse field. Nail's relationship with Maggie is going well, and Merv and the other veterans are getting on with their lives the best they can. Sadly, one of their best friends has passed away. I'm sitting at the kitchen table in my old cottage. Most of my old stuff is still here. Pots and pans, cutlery and plates. The picture of my father and his brother, both in uniform, still hanging on the wall above the mantelpiece. I didn't bother to take hardly anything when I moved into Mrs. Cooper's house. Everything I needed was there anyway. And if I had taken it, Tommy would have had nothing. I might take the photo, mind, as a keepsake. My red and yellow knitted tea cosy sits snugly over the china teapot, and my willow pattern teacups wait patiently to be filled. Tommy is sitting opposite me, and Merv is standing in the open doorway, looking out over the village. "Shut the door, man, Merv, I'm freezing in here," says Tommy. "Good God, Tommy, you spent 5 years sleeping under your boat, man. How can you be cold?" I say. "Well, I got used to the warm now, haven't I?" Tommy replies. "You were the one who persuaded me to come and live here." I know, I say. "Bit of a draught, that's all," says Merv. "Bit of a draught? Were you born in a barn or something?" asks Tommy. "I was, as it happens," says Merv, and folds his arms. Tommy doesn't reply. "Milk first," I say, as I pour the milk straight from the bottle into the cups. "No milk jug for us, boys. That's for the crachach." "Did you bring food?" asks Tommy. He may have a proper roof over his head, but he's still not working, and very little chance he ever will. Survives on handouts and the WI. I take a small loaf of bread that Margaret baked from under my coat, and Merv puts some brawn slices onto the table. I look down at the checked blue and white plastic table cover. "This could do with a wipe, Tommy," I say. "I never seem to find the time," he replies. Merv raises his eyebrows. Tommy takes a bite out of the loaf and pushes a slice of brawn into his mouth to join it. I slush the teapot and pour the tea. "Sugar, Merv?" I ask. "Oh, 4, please. I'm cutting down," I interrupt. "That's right," he says. "How do you know?" "Because you keep saying it, Merv. You know it's rationed now, don't you?" "Well, I can't drink it without plenty of sugar." I stir the sticky brew with the tarnished sugar spoon. It's been nearly 6 months now since King George spoke to the nation. "There may be dark days ahead," he said, "and war can no longer be confined to the battlefield." I don't know about that, to be honest, but bugger all has happened in Pontderw since we declared war. A few of the boys have joined up, of course, and quite a few of us old-timers have signed up for the local defence volunteers, the LDV. Sounds very grand. Bit of a joke, to be honest. No training or weapons, not even any proper uniforms yet. There's talk of evening lessons in sabotage and unarmed combat and weapons handling. Supposed to go down the oak field by the river. I'll believe it when I see it. Aye, the LDV. Look, duck and vanish. That's what the regular soldiers call it. Apparently, Dr. Clow will be in charge when they get round to doing something about it. Captain Dr. Clow, I say to myself and smile. There's not even an official way to sign up yet. Iric Book and Pencil got a list down at the police house and that's it. Apparently we're being sent some pikes until there's proper rifles for us. What bloody use a pike will be against guns and tanks, don't ask me. I keep my father's old Webley pistol inside my coat, just in case, you know. Tommy reads aloud from an old newspaper. We must not underrate the gravity of the task which lies before us, or the temerity of the ordeal, to which we shall not be found unequal. What the hell does that mean? Asks Merv. Who the hell wrote that, Tommy? Mr. Churchill, Tommy replies. I like him, says Merv. Got respect for people who use long words, especially the ones I can't understand. He should be in charge. Tommy looks at me, raises his eyebrows and takes another large bite from the loaf. I heard on the radio in Margaret's yesterday that the the Finns, are giving the Russians as good as they're getting. We're sending troops to help them, apparently. Good for them, says Tommy, through a mouthful of bread and brawn. Tough as old boots, the Finns. Russians have bitten off more than they can chew there. And a piece of half-chewed meat falls onto the table. So have you, says Merv as quick as a flash and laughs hard. Tommy pops the morsel back into his mouth and takes another bite from the loaf. Why don't you use a knife, Tommy, I suggest. No point, man, he mumbles. Well, at least shut your mouth then, I say. Stop talking to me then, he replies, and another semi-chewed white lump lands on the table. Doesn't pay me any rent, Tommy. And Claude doesn't ask me for anything for living at Mrs. Cooper's. So it seemed unfair to expect anything from Tommy for living in my cottage. Uncle Jacob wouldn't have wanted me charging him rent anyway. Look after your own, Hobart. That's what he used to say. Remember that. Look after your own. Not that Tommy's got anything to pay with anyway, apart from his medals. I don't think Mr. Chamberlain knows what the hell he's doing, says Merv. No plan, like. You've got to have a plan if you're going to go have a war. Like that General A in the Great War had. He had a plan. Oh, he was one of the donkeys, Merv, I reply. What's that then? He asks. Lions, led by donkeys, Merv. The Somme, Passchendaele, Mametz. Believe me, I was there. Oh, no, he argues. Great man, strong leader. I like a strong leader. There's no point arguing with him. He's got his mind made up and no amount of badgering from me will get him to change it. My infantry captain was a hero, says Tommy. Captain Llewellyn Rhys ap Thomas. When I got cut off from the lines, he came through no man's land and found me. On his own he came, crawling on his belly through the mud and the corpses like a rat. I saw his brains blown out of his eye as he was shot. Came for me, he did. Aye, on his own. I tried to pull him into the shell hole with me. I didn't have the strength. He was dead anyway. He stops talking and looks down. Brave man, Tommy, I say. Merv changes the subject. Can you read something for me, Neil? I've forgotten my glasses. He hands me an envelope and I take out the yellow notepaper from inside it. Cliffside House, Red Lion Street, Ramsgate. I read the letter out loud. It's from the son of the family who owned the guest house where Merv was a patient in 1914. His name is Des, and the letter is an invitation for Merv to write back or to go and visit. What's all that then? Asks Tommy. Oh, when I got taken ashore from the Abu Kir in 1914, I stayed in a bed and breakfast boarding house in Ramsgate it was. They looked after me when I was injured in the war. Merv is too proud to tell Tommy how he was really injured. Felled by an Irish galley domestic. Never recovered in time to go back to sea, so I stayed with the family for a bit, Got friendly with Des, hanging about, Well, will you write back, I ask. No, he replies. But I might go and see him. Good old boy. How did he find you in, Merv? Asks Tommy. The letter was sent to my mother's old house in Cardiff. My brother sent it on. Nosy Owens brought it round this morning. I'm sure it had been opened. He's a nosy bugger. I'm having egg for my tea, says Tommy. Always thinking about his next meal, Tommy. He's not really interested in what anyone else has to say. Boiled, I ask. No, replies Tommy. I can't stand boiled eggs. I don't like them either, says Merv. Cackleberries, we calls them in the Navy. Make me hurl every time I eat them. Well, Merv, why do you eat them then? I ask, bemused. Well, they're good for you, aren't they? He replies. Make you strong. I am confused by Merv's logic, but that's not unusual. We lost a ship yesterday, according to Ireg, says Merv. HMS Daring. U-boat got her torpedoed on her way home from Norway, she was. Heavily armed too. 150 men went down with her. Up in Scotland somewhere. At least something's happening with this war. It's like two school kids, isn't it? Daring each other to throw a punch. Too scared of getting hurt there. He's got plans for France and Belgium before us, I say. He's not ready to take on the Tommies yet. I think that Mr. Churchill should be in charge, Merv says. He got a bit more about him, a soldier. He fought in the Great War, so he knows what he's on about. Was it in the Western Front he was with the Scots Guards, I think? He'd be a strong leader, all right. We need a strong leader, and we need a plan. Do you think you'll go to Ramsgate? Asks Tommy as he chases down the last piece of bread with a mouthful of tea. Do you know, I think I might, Tommy. Or perhaps I won't. How would you get there, Merv, I ask. A train, I suppose. Could call in with my brother in Cardiff on the way. Tommy walks to the stove and throws in a couple more logs. Another cuppa, he asks. Aye, we both say. Tommy fills the kettle and puts it on the stove. I'm not sure about that Mr. Churchill, says Tommy. I don't trust him. All the same, those politicians only look out for themselves. You're right, Neil. Lions led by donkeys we were. Nah, I don't like him either. He's too full of it, he is, I reply. Merv looks as if he's going to respond, but he bites his lip. You can see he's outnumbered. Bloody land robbers, he mutters to himself. I saw Edna this morning, I say. Still dressed all in black, head to foot. She didn't say hello. How long then since I had passed now? Asks Tommy. Must be at least a year, says Merv. No, man. Beginning of July last year it was, I say. Not long after Marianne had the baby. I was pushing the pram through the square when Reverend James told me. You might want to sit down, Mr. Ackerman, he said. I've got some distressing news. I couldn't believe it. I know we hadn't been well, but I never thought for 1 minute, that he would, well, pass like. Knocked me flat, it did. Went straight to the ship and sank a couple of large ones. Marianne had come to the pub to fetch the baby. I stayed after closing. Eddie locked up and me, him and Eirig drank there till, well, God knows when. Eirig told me when I came back from Aberystwyth, Merv adds. Shock of my life, I tell you. There's a long silence. I heard a great story about Howard, I say, trying to lighten the mood a little. When he was in hospital the first time, they took him to Llanelli Hospital because they didn't have any drivers to take him to Carmarthen. Well, he didn't want to be there, did he? So do you know what he did? What? Says Merv. When they left him to get changed, he opened the window of the room and then he clung onto the springs under the bed. When the nurses came back in, they thought he'd scarpered out the window, so they all rushed off to look for him in the grounds. Tommy and Merv are laughing now. You haven't heard the best, I say. Once they'd gone, Howard went downstairs to the emergency department, sneaked through the reception, then went outside and pinched a bloody ambulance. And he drove himself to Carmarthen Hospital, booked himself in there, man. The tears now are rolling down our faces as we laugh. Apparently the police found the ambulance in the car park and just drove it back to Llanelli, and nobody ever mentioned it again. Oh, he was a boy, wasn't he? Do you know what, I say? I'm not sure if he was even deaf, As soon as he started courting Edna, it seemed to just go away. I'm convinced he was putting it on to suit himself. Selective hearing, like. Wouldn't surprise me one little bit, says Merv. Remember the time he rode Kipper's horse into the butcher's? Die English went mad. If you don't get that pony out of here, Howard Deaf, I'll make it into sausages and I'll make you into faggots. Hey, said Howard. No, I don't want any bloody faggots. I'm trying to get this horse to walk backwards. We laugh until the whistle blows in the kettle. I'll have to go after this, I say. I'm going to call with Maggie. Oh, Maggie this and Maggie that, teases Merv. It'll be Maggie bit of the other next, he laughs. Know what I mean, Tommy? A bit of the other, he explains. Aye, replies Tommy. How many sugars is it, Merv? Bugger it, says Merv. 5, please. Life's too short, Tommy. I pour the tea and Tommy produces a slice of Victoria sponge cake. Where'd you get that, Tommy? Asks Merv. Ella Prothero brought it round for me, Tommy replies. Victoria sponge, is it? Merv inquires. Aye, replies Tommy. Big slice, innit? Merv observes. Bit much for one person, really. He's angling, he is, for a share. No, I'll be fine, thanks, replies Tommy. Got my appetite back a bit now. Merv watches Tommy devour the cake. My favourite Victoria sponge, says Merv. Aye, none too, mumbles Tommy without dropping so much as a crumb. Right, I'm off, I say. Don't want to be late for Maggie. You're scared of her, Merv says. Don't be daft, Merv, I say. I just don't want to let her down, She's upset about Howard dying. Made her think of her husband, die slug, I suppose, and Verdon's been giving her a hard time. Misses his father. Understandable, says Merv. I'll be off as well, Tommy. I'm meeting Nobby in the ship. Well, thanks, boys, says Tommy as we walk down the steps from the cottage. See you Thursday, I reply, about the same time. OK, says Tommy and shuts the cottage door. He's in a better place, isn't he? Says Merv as we pick our way through the horse field. Aye, I reply. I thought this war stuff might set him off again, but he's been all right on the whole. Perhaps he's on the mend at last, eh? Do you think this war will come to anything? Merv asks. I don't know, Merv. But one thing's for sure. There's nothing you or I can do to stop it if it does. Merv stares down at his feet. We walk through the alley between the police house and the Bell pub as the air raid siren starts wailing across the village.